Hi, it's Nathan and Amelia from New Horizons Lifestyle, and welcome to Raw Talk.
So today we're going to talk about transition because it's been a topic of conversation where we've received a lot of questions about that. So we're going to actually break this down into a three-part series.
Yep.
Because it's a huge topic, isn't it? So what are the three, I guess, major phases?
Yep. So
transition.
the three major phases of transitioning from something old to something new is the first part is making the decision, then doing your research, then you move into starting to transition into the new thing, and then the final phase would be letting go of the old. So today we're going to talk about the first phase. We'll cover the other two phases in the following two Raw Talks.
Yeah. So making a decision, what are we making a decision about? Well, that's very personal to you. To put it into context, when we're talking about transition, we're talking about the idea of making some big changes in your life. So in our example, we were living a life and we weren't super happy with the lifestyle that we were living. We weren't pursuing our passions to the degree that we wanted to. We were compromising on a number of our values, and we didn't have the freedoms that we wanted, financial, time and geographic freedom that we were after. So for us, we went on a journey to try and figure out what is it that we want. So the first thing we had to do was identify what we weren't happy with.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So you can talk about that bit.
There was a few things. So probably about 3 or 4 years ago, I started to look at where our life was currently, and was looking at, in 10 years' time, if we continued with what we were doing currently for the next 10 years, what would that look like, and what would the outcome be in 10 years? And I quickly realized that there were some things missing that we were not actually doing in our life that we wanted to. So that kind of led me to looking at trying to find ways of creating a passive income. And we looked at a whole multitude of different things, but that initial decision was realizing that we wanted a slightly different outcome than where we were at the present time, and making a decision that we had to do something different. And for us, it was creating a passive income. And so we decided that we were going to find a way to create a passive income so that we weren't dependent on employers and other companies that we had to work for. We could eventually build an income that gave us the independence from those things and give us more time to do the things that we loved. So that was the initial decision that we made. And do you want to talk about possibly the next phase?
Well, not yet, because part of the unhappiness or lack of fulfillment, lack of satisfaction was that we weren't pursuing our passions either to the degree. So we wanted financial freedom, but we wanted to live a life of passion. And we're both very passionate about fitness, and so we were constantly striving for more time to work out, to dance, to go running, those sorts of things. And we were talking about how can we have a job that allows us to do those things, to be part of the job. So we were trying, that was our thinking. How do we find jobs that allow us to be that? And then, but we realized actually that it doesn't have to be part of your job. If you can set yourself up to have freedom through some kind of passive income, then you're free to do those things on your terms, not within the terms of the job. So for me personally, I the decision I made was I wasn't fulfilled in my corporate career. I loved it to a certain degree, but it wasn't. It was draining me of my creative and fitness desires, and I made a decision that I was going to get out of the corporate environment. Oh, that's a loud plane. And get into the dance world somehow. I didn't know what that was going to look like or how long, what I was going to do in that, but that was my decision. I after having been on a journey of trying to figure out what my passions were, I came to that conclusion that my passion was around dance, fitness, creativity, and I wanted to be in that world. I didn't want to be in the world I wanted to be in. So it was twofold. And similarly for you, your super high degree of passion around fitness and extreme sport was, how do you get freed up to be able to do that? So it was twofold.
And I think it's actually probably the hardest and the biggest step really is initially making that decision.
Yeah.
To actually realise, okay, something's not working, and in order to have a different outcome, the outcome that we want, something needs to change.
Right.
And making that decision, okay, we're going to change something.
Yeah. So we made two decisions. You decided we were going to have a passive income source.
Yeah.
That was your decision and kind of your journey of discovery.
Yeah.
My decision was, I'm going to live a life of passion. I'm going to surround myself with people who are passionate in the same thing. And just making those decisions it's like changed everything. Like our internal compass changed.
It changes your trajectory, doesn't it?
Totally.
Already
But you don't have to know how, and part of the first thing is just make a decision. You don't have to know anything, because that first phase is, okay, let's figure out what is the dance world about? What is a passive income all about? So you go on the research, which is that phase. You start researching, investigating, getting involved. You know, you're not making any other decisions. You're just researching what you want your life to look like. What's out there in those fields of those decisions.
Yeah. And that kind of brings us to the second kind of step in that decision process is deciding something has to change, but then researching firstly what is it that you're going to change, what are you going to try and pursue to bring that change about in your life, and researching the different avenues and the different ways that you can do that thing. You know what I mean? Because there's a multitude of, like, for example, for us building a passive income, there's so many different ways you can do that. And after I made the decision, something had to change, and then the second decision of, okay, I want a passive income, then we had to research, well, what does that passive income look like? What are the different ways that we can create a passive income? And what is the best way for us? Or what would actually work best for our lifestyle and the goals that we want in life. So it's just about, researching the different areas of passive income, different ways of setting up an online business, what are the different business models within an online business that you can do, just so that I could understand what was actually out there that we could possibly, create for ourselves.
Right. Yeah. And as you're researching that, you're bringing what you're finding to me, too, because then I would look at it and we'd try and figure that out together. Yeah. On my kind of more personal journey around the dance, so I decided I was going to get out of the corporate world and get into the dance industry somehow. What does that even look like? So I started taking more dance classes. I started watching YouTubes on, different dance coaches and different dances and different things, like what does the dance world look like in 2018, 19,
Yeah.
rather than 30 years ago, or so so I started getting involved in researching that side of things. And then the law of attraction starts to kind of kick in a little bit. You start surrounding, like my news feeds on Facebook was suddenly completely different. The things I was spending my time on looking at was different. So I started changing as a person, and as did you, and our environment changed through what we were absorbing and reading and listening to, and the people we were around, and that starts attracting the different the elements you want in your life.
And by you actively doing things within that dance, or not necessarily working in it yet, but just participating in doing ballet yourself, dance, creative stuff, and being in that environment allowed you to, it opened your eyes to see the different possibilities and even what drawed out your passion the most.
Right, like within the field, totally. And I could see that there was start seeing that there were different paths, and the path of teaching ballet was going to be a little bit more challenging because the curriculum is massive to learn. Whereas there was a little path where I could do ballet conditioning and get some certification on that. So I decided to take that little step, and I was very passionate about that too. And when I did that course, I was so, that was a huge milestone, massive milestone for me. And putting back the attention on you, as you're researching different online businesses, you're finding things that didn't align with our values or passions, and things that did. Like you were seeing that there are a lot of different ways of doing an online business.
Definitely, I explored so many different options, and even just following different people and starting to watch YouTube videos and following people's Facebook feeds and Google searching different people that had online businesses that were quite successful and regarded as gurus in the industry, and learning from them and actually just discovering what would work for us and what would be aligned with what we wanted based on our passions and the things, values, and the things that we wanted from the passive income.
So step number 1, make a decision. That will just change your compass. You don't have to know how, where, you don't have to have answers. Just make a decision. You want your life to be different. That might even be the first decision. You just want life to be different. And then you've got to research what that looks like. You may have gone through the process or very clear about what your passions are. Make a decision to be around your passions somehow.
For sure.
So just make some decisions, because that changes the compass. And then you watch the law of attraction start to pull things together, and then you're getting closer to real transition. But that's got to be the first step. So I encourage you guys, get out there, make a decision. You don't have to know anything about what you're doing, just make that decision, and you watch that take on its own little path, which then takes you to the next step,
phase,
which is video 2.
Yes. So you'll have to come back next week to learn more about the second phase, which is
transition, the commitment, the actual transitioning and making a commitment, and that's a big one. So we'll see you on our next Raw Talk.
Looking forward to it. See you again.